At 76, Meryl Streep, yes, the woman Hollywood once crowned as the epitome of grace, discipline, and quiet authority, finally broke her lifelong rule of silence. For decades, she was the industry's gold standard, poised, professional, and above the noise. But now, in a rare confession that's sent shockwaves through the film world, Streep admitted there were actors she didn't just dislike, she outright hated them. And when those names surfaced, fans couldn't believe their ears. These weren't obscure co-stars or forgotten bit players. These were Hollywood titans, people audiences assumed she respected. But behind the curtain of those iconic performances was tension, resentment, and in some cases, deep betrayal. Once you hear the stories, you'll never look at some of her greatest films the same way again. The first name she revealed stunned everyone: Kevin Kline. To most fans, he was the charming, intelligent actor who stood opposite her in the 1982 classic Sophie's Choice. On screen, their chemistry was nothing short of magical, a haunting duet of love, madness, and despair. But off-screen, it was a battlefield. Streep had poured her soul into Sophie, studying Polish and German dialects, reading Holocaust survivor testimonies, and dissecting the emotional architecture of her character. Kline, on the other hand, preferred instinct. He lived for spontaneity, for finding magic in the moment, and thought too much preparation strangled authenticity. That creative clash quickly turned personal. During rehearsals, Kline reportedly mocked her accent work, saying, "Are you sure the audience will care more about your vowels than what she's feeling?" For Streep, that wasn't just a jab. It was an insult to her entire philosophy of acting. Sophie's broken voice was her trauma, her displacement, her survival. Dismissing it meant dismissing her truth. Things only got worse after the film wrapped. Kline joked in interviews that Streep's process was a little academic. He may have meant it lightly, but to her it was devastating. That academic approach had earned her an Oscar and the world's admiration. Yet here was her co-star reducing it to an exercise in overthinking. They never worked together again. At award shows, they kept it civil, but those who watched closely could feel the frost. To this day, Streep reportedly avoids discussing him. Kevin Kline wasn't just a colleague who annoyed her. He was the first actor to make her truly angry about the craft she loved. If Kline was a wound that never healed, Jeremy Irons was a scar that refused to fade. To moviegoers, pairing these two seemed like a dream. Two towering talents, both revered for their discipline and artistry. But in reality, they clashed from the first table read. Irons' approach to acting was almost architectural, controlled, calculated, elegant to a fault. Streep, meanwhile, built her performances from the raw, emotional core outward. Where she sought chaos and truth, he sought perfection and control. During one rehearsal, Irons allegedly referred to her dialect work as technical showmanship. That single phrase turned admiration into contempt. Streep later said in an interview, "An accent isn't performance, it's biography." To her, that comment was more than criticism, it was betrayal. From then on, every scene became a quiet duel, his marble-cold restraint versus her fire-forged vulnerability. The result was cinematic brilliance, but also a partnership built on mutual disdain. After filming ended, they went their separate ways, both privately relieved to never share a frame again. Then came Alec Baldwin. When Streep signed on for It's Complicated, she expected a breezy romantic comedy, not a battle of egos. Baldwin's reputation for improvisation clashed violently with Streep's structured, meticulous process. She prepared scenes down to the emotional pulse of each line, while Baldwin preferred to wing it, tossing in unscripted jokes and rearranging dialogue mid-take. What the audience later saw as natural chemistry was, behind-the-scenes, total chaos. Streep, frustrated, once snapped, "Comedy only works if it's grounded in truth." Baldwin, never one to back down, shot back that truth can't be rehearsed. Neither gave an inch. The tension was so thick that the director often had to separate them during breaks. Baldwin still laughs about it today, brushing it off as two perfectionists doing their thing. But those close to Streep say she's never forgiven how unprofessional he made her feel. Every laugh they shared on screen was apparently masking clenched teeth and rolled eyes. One of the biggest shocks, though, wasn't a co-star she fought with. It was one she refused to ever work with: Jack Nicholson. Studios begged to pair them for decades, certain that two of the greatest actors alive would create box office magic. But Streep refused over and over again. Her reason? She believed Nicholson represented everything wrong with the culture of celebrity. She viewed acting as a moral duty, an act of empathy and truth. Nicholson treated it like a high-stakes game of charm and instinct. When he famously quipped, "Preparation, that's intellectual masturbation," it hit her like a slap. To Streep, that kind of arrogance cheapened the art form. Casting directors say she personally vetoed several projects that included Nicholson's name. At Hollywood events, they exchanged polite nods and little else. The tension became so widely known that producers stopped even suggesting them in the same sentence. Two legends, one unbridgeable divide. But perhaps no grudge ran deeper than her quiet disdain for Gwyneth Paltrow. In Streep's eyes, Paltrow was the poster child for privilege in Hollywood. The daughter of famous parents, coasting on connections, branding, and glossy charm. To Streep, acting was labor, research, sacrifice, and pain. Watching Paltrow rise effortlessly through a world she had to claw her way into was infuriating. The tipping point came in 1999, when Paltrow won the Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. That same year, Streep delivered one of her most emotionally draining performances in One True Thing and lost. She smiled on camera, but friends say her words afterward were ice cold. It's not about performance anymore. It's about marketing. Though she never named Paltrow publicly, her meaning was clear. Over the years, she's praised other actresses known for depth and craft. Cate Blanchett, Jessica Chastain, Amy Adams, but never Paltrow. Even decades later, at award shows, their interactions are said to be frosty at best. One stands for legacy, the other for celebrity. In Streep's mind, that difference says everything. And finally, the name that started it all, Dustin Hoffman. Their collaboration on Kramer vs. Kramer made history, winning both of them Oscars and redefining what a domestic drama could be. But the cost was enormous. During filming, Hoffman famously slapped Streep across the face during a take, without warning. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't agreed upon. It was real. Streep, stunned, held back tears and finished the scene. To the crew, it looked raw and powerful. To her, it was humiliation masquerading as authenticity. Hoffman defended it as method acting, saying he wanted to provoke a genuine reaction. But Streep saw it as a violation of trust. Acting, to her, was about collaboration, not ambush. She later called it overstepping, and that one word carried decades of unspoken resentment. They never worked together again. Looking back, these 6 names, Kevin Kline, Jeremy Irons, Alec Baldwin, Jack Nicholson, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Dustin Hoffman, represent more than just personal grudges. They symbolize the fault lines in Hollywood's golden age, between instinct and intellect, fame and craft, chaos and control. Meryl Streep's confessions didn't just expose who she disliked. They revealed what she stood for: integrity, preparation, and the absolute belief that acting should honor humanity, not manipulate it. So, what do you think? Were these clashes inevitable between giants of such different philosophies? Or did egos simply get in the way of greatness? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're as fascinated by Hollywood's hidden rivalries